Okay, so now that we know how to convert from degrees to radians, we want to talk quickly about how to go in the other direction to convert from radians to degrees. So the same basic principles of conversion apply. If I have radians and I want to get to degrees, I need to multiply by a ratio of degrees to radians. This way the radians will cancel and I'll be left with degrees. And we just saw up here that 180 degrees equals pi radians. So this means I'll be multiplying by 180 degrees over pi radians. So if I'm converting from radians to degrees, I'll multiply by 180 over pi. Work through a couple examples real quick. Suppose we had the angle pi over 2 and I'm converting to degrees. Okay, I need to multiply by the ratio of degrees to radians. That's 180 over pi. There are 180 degrees in pi radians, so I multiply by 180 over pi. We see real quick the pi's will cancel. Also, a common factor of 2 cancels, leaving 90 behind. And that leaves us with just 90 in the numerator and 1 in the denominator, so just 90 degrees when we simplify. So we should make an observation here. We know what 90 degrees looks like. There's 90 degrees. Now we understand that that same angle can be expressed as pi over 2 radians. We're going to want to start trying to think about angles in radian measure a little bit. So now we know a right angle is pi over 2 radians. We'll do one more example here, converting from radians to degrees. Suppose we had 3 pi over 5. This can be the same process. We want to multiply by 180 over pi and then reduce our fraction. So I'm going to ask you to pause the video and go ahead and see if you can work through that real quick. So go ahead and pause the video. Okay, so you've had a chance to work through it. Hopefully you're catching on to how this is going to work. Remember, if we want to convert from radians to degrees, we're going to multiply by 180 over pi. Cancel out any common factors. You see pi cancels. Also 5 goes into 180. And if we're not sure, you could divide that off on the side, 180 over 5. Maybe do our old-fashioned division. Maybe pull out a calculator if you're weak. So we see that 180 over 5 is 36. So 5 cancels 180 and leaves 36 behind. So all we have left here is 36 times 3, which is 108. So an angle of 3 pi over 5 radians is equal to 108 degrees. So that's just a couple problems practicing converting angles from radians back to degrees. Important point to remember, of course, if we're converting from radians back to degrees, we'll always multiply by pi over 180.